Wabash, the gentleman's rule. You gotta believe in that stuff. The Wabash always fight.
Hello and welcome to the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. And Coach, we come in today getting ready for a game at Ohio Wesleyan, unfortunately coming off of a loss at Denison last Saturday, 34-10. It was a tough day overall. Offense had some issues getting going. Defense faced a very good Denison team. When you've had a chance to get back and look at the film and so forth, what did you see from the game last Saturday?
Well, we were shocked that we played as poorly as we did, but looking at the game film, just critical errors essentially on every offensive play, certainly in the first half. Defensively, Denison is a very, very good football team. You can't shoot yourself in the foot and have a chance with that, and we made some coverage mistakes, we made some alignment mistakes. Offensively, we had a turnover in the first half that was costly. We hadn't turned the ball over in a couple of weeks, and just very disappointed from the week of preparation we had to the buildup of the game, where we really felt like it was, our opportunity to make a statement about who we were. We were confident about it, but we just played poorly in every aspect of the game, except, ironically, special teams. But Denison outplayed us. We are the only team their senior class has not beaten. It was a big deal for them. We got the Denison A game, and we brought the Wabash D+ game. It
was kind of a perfect storm of things. They had just come out of that overtime loss to Wittenberg. Kanan Gabley knew going into the game that he had a chance to become the all-time leading passer in Denison history. To be able to do that at home, he was able to accomplish that. So you really had a Denison football team that was ready to bring out their best effort. So you definitely got that on Saturday.
Well, and again, it pains me because we felt like going into it we were going to get our best game, and we didn't come close. It's really the first time in my tenure where we got whooped on both sides of the ball. Obviously, today's Wednesday. We have moved beyond that, and we don't lose many games at Wabash. So when you do, it's pretty painful. And I think our team is getting ready to go play an Ohio Wesleyan team who beat us last year, ironically.
We do have some highlights from the Denison game to take a look at, because you did have some individual marks that need to be talked about.
Sure.
One of them is the first guy we're going to see here. A great play by Brandon Yagi. Brandon made a career-high 13 tackles. He had the only sack of the game for your defense. He really just continues to play well game after game and has really become a steadfast point on your defense this season.
He has, and he's playing. We're missing Bishop Rhodes right now. Brandon's playing more for us and has done an admirable job.
We just saw the catch from Oliver Page. Oliver became the 25th wide receiver in Wabash College history to catch 100 passes in a career. He continues to move his way up that chart now. Just a great career for Oliver Page as a captain of this football team.
Sure has been. Unfortunately, as you know, he left the game with an injury, and that certainly did not help our cause at all.
Excuse me. Injuries have been something that have kind of bitten this team lately. We know Ike James down with the knee injury. You mentioned Oliver Page, Bishop Rhodes. Seth Burrish is another player who was unavailable to you Saturday because he suffered a knee injury as well. What have the guys who have to step into those roles, how have they taken advantage of that? One guy I'm thinking of is Nick Hammond, who got into the game late on Saturday and made his first completion of his career.
Well, I think our guys we're used to, and it's just part of playing in what's become a pretty competitive conference. Guys get hurt, and I hate the cliche next man up. We don't even do that anymore. It's just whoever the backup is, he needs to go in, and we expect him to perform as well as the starter.
You mentioned guys that have performed well and need to step in and play as well as a starter. He's not oftentimes technically a starter, but a guy who, again, had a good Saturday was Rashawn Jones. Caught the big touchdown pass, had a couple of really solid kick returns. He continues to give you a good speed threat offensively.
Rashawn does. He's a junior, but he's still very young. He's a 19-year-old junior. We look for big things from him, throughout this season, and certainly in his career. He's played behind talented guys, and now he's actually starting to step up into his own.
Last week on the show, you mentioned that the key number to look at would be time of possession. And as we know, the numbers there were certainly heavily in Denison's favor. What made it so difficult to be able to get them off the field and get your defense some rest?
The quarterback is talented. He's arguably the best player in the conference. But the challenge he presents, and actually has presented the last 4 years, with his ability to run and to pass and to move around and make plays. He really is the stereotypical kind of Division I guy that can make a play with his feet or throw it. What sets him apart is he is such a great decision maker, and certainly a dominant player in this conference.
Well, as another football coach once said, on to Cincinnati, on to Ohio Wesleyan. And as you've already mentioned, this is a football team that came in here last year with a very solid defense and ended up defeating Wabash 16-13. It was kind of a strange game. Little Giants weren't able to get a lot of things going offensively. You had the strangest touchdown we're probably ever going to see, Skylar Narig with the blocked field goal. He had 2 kicks blocked, but he recovered the block and ran it in for a touchdown, then kicked the extra point. That tied the game at 13. But then Ohio Wesleyan was able to get a late field goal. Their defense this year may be even better. They've got a couple of sophomores who are playing well. They forced a lot of turnovers last week against Kenyon. What are your expectations from what you've seen from Ohio Wesleyan thus far on film?
Well, even before we get to Ohio Wesleyan, it's kind of what I expect out of the Wabash football team, and just to play a better game this Saturday in all aspects. Offensively, I think we're much better than we were a year ago. So certainly we need to score some points and move the ball, and our plan is to do that. And then defensively, just not repeat the errors we made a week ago.
You're facing a radically different offense this week in Ohio Wesleyan. You had a very talented, multiple threat quarterback in Kanan Gabley last week and good senior receivers. Ohio Wesleyan hasn't been as big a threat offense. They've really made their mark. They've won both of their home games, but they've won it on the defensive side of the football. Last week, Jax Harville had his best game of the season, 15 of 26 passing for 156 yards. He threw for 3 touchdowns. They scored a couple of touchdowns against Kenyon off of turnovers. Defensively, we'll talk about that in a minute, but they have the Defensive Player of the Week coming back for this week's game. What type of things, transitioning from what you had to prepare for against Denison, do you have to prepare for defensively against OWU?
OWU really tries to get you behind the chains on first down. You look at their film, and their opponents are always 2nd and 9, 2nd and 13, 2nd and 15. The Kenyon game is, after our game, which I thought was bizarre. We came in here Sunday and looked at the Kenyon-OWU game. Equally bizarre, where OWU scores 21 points on defense. Certainly we cannot allow them to do that. And then we just need to get back to Wabash football, which we've been playing all year, but it sure left us a week ago.
They've got a sophomore defensive end, Cordarius Melton, as we mentioned. He's the North Coast Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Week. He ended up scoring on a fumble return for a touchdown, an interception return, which you don't see a lot of defensive ends picking off passes, but he made a nice play. So defensively, they have really lived. They're one of the best defenses in terms of tackles for losses in Division III, ranked 5th, I believe, overall. they have always seemed to have just a really solid front line that really gets after your running game and your quarterback and really shorten the time you have to make plays take place.
They do, and they're unique from other teams in the conference where they really play the ends wide, try and get them up the field, and just create chaos on an offensive line. And they have wrecked some offensive lines this year.
You've got a veteran offensive line. A lot of the guys that faced OU last year are back again this year. Is that an advantage that they've had a chance to see some of the things that OU will present?
Well, we just, again, it's, we're talking about last week's Denison game and the OU game, just the two worst games we've played in the last 3 seasons. I can't believe it's possible for us to repeat what happened a year ago. I don't expect that. Our kids, as I mentioned, we don't lose much around here. When you lose a football game at Wabash, you walk around here with shame and embarrassment. I think our team will be ready Saturday to get back to the winning ways.
Something I'm sure the fans think about. I'm not sure how much players, coaches, or people around the program, but I'll ask this question. So is there a little bit of extra motivation coming off of a loss, playing an opponent that you lost to last year? Does that provide a little extra drive?
Absolutely. And last year was the same situation where we have fall break. All of the kids are going home today except for the football guys. So we're going to practice this afternoon, come back out, practice tomorrow, and I mean, be ready to get back to winning football games.
Is there a little bit of an advantage with that fall break, though, because you'll get to make your travel plans they'll be a little more flexible. Normally, you're waiting as late as possible to leave on a Friday, so you don't have as much missed class time. You don't have classes Thursday and Friday. You can practice at a convenient time for the guys. They can still get some downtime. They won't have classes to worry about, shouldn't have a lot of homework to do. Then on Friday, you can leave when it's convenient for the team to leave. You can get over to Ohio, get in, settled, dinner, a good night's rest, and be ready to go Saturday.
It does. It's actually more of an advantage to be playing on the road during fall break than it is at home. Tonight, we're going to practice. We'll be the only people in the dining hall. We've got a really special dinner plan. Mr. and Mrs. Hansen are going to join us. It's going to be fantastic. But really get our minds right to get going again. We still have a chance to win a piece of the conference. That's the goal of this football team, and we are going to pursue it.
That's the important thing to mention, is you still control much of your own destiny. You still have a game coming up against Wittenberg. The Tigers are the only undefeated team in the conference. If you're able to run the gamut of games remaining, you'll have at least 3 teams with only, you'll have 3 teams with only 1 loss possibly. So it would be a co-conference championship, and it means part of that trophy will come back here to Wabash.
It does, but we need to beat OU to get there, and we are taking one step at a time.
And that game will be Saturday. It is a 1 o'clock kickoff at Selby Stadium. I'll have the call for you on the radio, 91.3 FM, WNDY Crawfordsville, and online at wabash.edu/live. Beginning with this show, the Don Morel Show, at about 12:40. And then opening kick at 1 o'clock. Ohio Wesleyan will also have a live video broadcast, and the links to that are on the Wabash College Sports website at sports.wabash.edu. I do want to remind you that Monon Bell tickets for the 125th Monon Bell Classic, presented by the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Those tickets will go on sale at noon on Monday, October 15th. There'll be information that morning on the Wabash College website about all of the ticket packaging that's available. Tickets will be $25 a piece. You can get a super ticket for $35. That will allow you to leave the stadium one time and re-enter. There is also a special family section. Tickets there are $25. That will be between the Wabash and DePaul seating sections. Also, you'll be able to purchase parking places or parking spots for tailgating, and you'll be able to reserve either RV spots or a spot in the Monon Village, and all of that information and all of that will be available at wabashtickets.com. Again, Those go on sale Monday, October 15th, beginning at 12 noon. But before that, Little Giants will head to Ohio Wesleyan, and we'll hope for a good result and a good chance to talk with you next week. Coach, thanks for the time as always.
Thank you.
You've been watching the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. We'll talk to you next week.
Wabash, the gentleman's rule. You gotta believe in that stuff. Wabash always fight.